I'm Annalise, a lot of
Channel 3, Burlington.
Relentless rain, soggy levees, and swollen rivers. It's a formula for destruction, taking the Midwest to the breaking point.
President Clinton and the First Family attend a funeral for a friend, while questions persist about the sudden death.
And Eye on America. Tonight, the latest trend in advertising. If you like the cause, will you like the product?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung.
Good evening. The brave people of the Midwest are proving day after day that their fighters come hell or high water. Today, they got both. More high water and a forecast from hell. Experts now say there is no end in sight to the rain or the flooding. Correspondent Bob Orr begins our coverage of the floods of '93.
It's already bad enough, but now a new threat. 5 to 7 inches of rain are predicted to pound the Missouri and Mississippi valleys in the next few days. The long-range outlook is no better. A record third flood crest and rain through the end of August.
How far is it going to go?
The battle continues in all of the river towns.
Anything that you can do to help keep it from getting any further than what it's already gotten, you're winning.
But many levees may not be winning. In the St. Louis district alone, almost 9 million sandbags are straining to hold back leaks and overflow. Even the giant downtown concrete flood wall is leaking.
At this point, they're afraid that the repairs they're making may break and continue the problem to worsen.
Engineers are checking for other seepage, pumping out the excess water, hoping to prevent another washout, like this one that buried Kaskaskia Island. The hidden danger in levees is that any kind of deterioration is so tough to detect. They're a little bit like sinkholes. The problem is the bottom can quietly wash out long before the top collapses.
You never know what's going on well below the surface of the levee. Generally, I would say we're 98, 99% sure that the levees will hold, but you can't rule out anything unexpected.
And unexpected as well are new charges that some of the damages may be man-made. The Quincy break sent a barge crashing into a gasoline service station, touching off a fire. Police now suspect sabotage.
We're going to be looking at anyone who may have seen anything along the levee during that time.
It will be months before the Quincy Bridge will reopen. Months as well before the floodwaters fall and life gets back to normal. Right now, even the mail is afloat.
I've been waiting for you.
Everybody here is waiting for the rains to slack off, hoping the levees stand strong. But they may be waiting for a long time. Bob Orr, CBS News, Festus, Missouri.
The Midwest flooding has claimed more lives. The bodies of 3 boys were found late today inside a flooded cave in a park in South St. Louis. 10 other boys were rescued.
Amid all the rain, people in Des Moines have been praying for showers, hot showers, and today they got them. Fresh water is flowing in homes throughout the city for the first time since flooding overwhelmed the waterworks 2 weeks ago. It's all right to shower, bathe, and wash dishes and clothes, but it will be a few weeks before tap water in the Iowa capital is safe to drink. By now, most of us can recite the forecast from memory. Rain in the Midwest, hot and dry in the southeast. It's the same day after day. Richard Threlkeld looks at why the weather's been so predictable.
Ever since April, everywhere east of the Rockies, the weather has been going to extremes. Too much rain in the Middle West, too little in the east. It was 97 in Atlanta today. You can imagine what that does to Jim Mander's peaches.
It ripens them up real fast, and it makes them draw up, kind of swivel up a little bit because it's too hot on them.
Blame it all on that Bermuda high off the Atlantic coast. It's much bigger and more persistent than usual, and it makes the rain fall mainly on the plains and leaves the east hot and dry.
We're not getting any precipitation to break away from the Midwest. It's staying there. It can't get over to the East Coast.
And so the South is suffering through what's already a moderate drought that's likely to get worse. Hundreds of millions of dollars in lost crops from the Carolinas to Florida, including Eugene Hodges' Georgia cornfield.
This corn here would have been 8 or 9 foot high had we had any rain at all. And there's not an ear on the stalk. No ears on the stalk whatsoever.
You can write off most of the corn and soybeans in the Midwest, too, from too much rain. Just look at what the satellites are seeing this week over America's middle. That dark area is mud and flood as big as a couple of the Great Lakes, and there's more to come.
the main path of the storms will remain over the Midwest and stay away from the East Coast.
For some weeks.
For some weeks.
What's more, the hot, dry weather out east has so warmed up the Caribbean, the Weather Service is now worried about an outbreak of really destructive hurricanes this summer and fall. It's been less than a year since Hurricane Andrew. Richard Threlkeld, CBS News, New York.
Peace could be just around the corner in Bosnia, a peace dominated by the triumphant Serbs. That's according to UN mediators who want to get the Serbs, Croats, and Muslims together in Geneva. But today, all three sides were trying to improve their position on the battlefield before returning to the bargaining table. Tom Fenton has our report.
The date for the peace talks seemed to be slipping further today as on the ground, all sides were trying to grab more territory. Serb forces turned their heavier weapons on Muslim forces near Briscoe. They were trying to widen and secure a land corridor through northern Bosnia, linking up Serb-held territory. Then from another direction, Croatian forces unexpectedly opened fire on the Serbs. The Croatians have been helping the Serbs defeat the Muslims here under the old axiom, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Today, that was no longer true. Elsewhere, in a hospital in the battle zone, UN peacekeepers and doctors were providing desperately needed care to handicapped children.
You'll see a building opposite you. That's where the washing machines are.
The children were discovered starving and abandoned 5 days ago. Now they have clean beds and a chance to survive.
I like working with kids, but obviously when you see little ones suffering like this, it's not easy.
The soldiers will stay on until the staff returns. Several of them came back today. Sarajevo got no relief today. The pounding by Serbian guns on the hillsides continued, killing at least 4 more civilians and wounding more than 40. Serbian Muslim President Ilija Izetbegovic is refusing to go to the peace talks until vital services are restored to the city.
Maybe Monday or Tuesday.
The talks had already been postponed from today until Sunday. The Muslims are now suggesting Tuesday, and the Serbs are talking about putting the whole thing off until the fall. Meanwhile, expect all three sides to continue to try to grab as much land as they can. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, sex education, condoms for kids, abortion rights, and the president's choice for Surgeon General.
And Eye on America, the new advertising strategy, selling goods by selling goodness.
Washington, the Senate Armed Services Committee today approved a policy on gays in the military. For all practical purposes, it's President Clinton's so-called don't ask, don't tell compromise. Opponents are still likely to challenge it in court. In Hope, Arkansas today, the funeral for White House Deputy Counsel Vincent Foster. But as Foster was laid to rest, nagging questions remain about his apparent suicide, as White House correspondent Bill Plant reports.
President Clinton and his wife Hillary Rodham Clinton, a former law partner of Foster's, joined the Foster family and hundreds of administration officials and friends at the funeral in Little Rock. There were no cameras in the church, but in an emotional eulogy, the president repeated many of the same things he had said earlier in the day.
He was a terrific friend, a great father, a great husband, a great lawyer. He's one of the ablest and best people I ever knew in my life. That's what makes this day the more painful, but we have to accept the fact that there are many things we're not in control of, many things we don't understand, and we have to be grateful for what his life was.
Investigators, including the FBI, which has now been brought into the case, are still trying to find some reason or motive for Foster's apparent suicide. Was it blackmail? Sources tell CBS News that the FBI has found no evidence of that so far and would take over the case quickly if it did. Other questions. Who found the body and called 911? Police don't know. Did Foster see or talk to anyone between leaving the White House at 1 p.m. Tuesday and the time he died later that afternoon? Who else was parked at the spot where he died? Police are checking auto license plates. Was there anything in Foster's White House telephone records or computer files? So far, investigators say there's no indication Foster's death was anything but suicide. And if that's true, they have no idea why he did it. His friends, including those right here in the White House, would just as soon stop asking. But others in the administration warn that that's a bad idea, that they'd simply be looking for trouble. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
No real trouble today for the president's nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court, Ruth Ginsburg. She went behind closed doors at the Senate Judiciary Committee, held a fourth and final day of confirmation hearings. The committee is expected to vote next week to recommend her confirmation by the full Senate. By contrast, there was plenty of controversy expected today as confirmation hearings began for a new Surgeon General, one who has strong views on abortion, birth control, and sex education. Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer has a report.
The embattled nominee finally got a chance to tell her story to senators, and it was like something out of a Faulkner novel.
I'm the oldest of 8 children. I had never seen a physician prior to my first year at college.
She told them how she went on to become the first black woman to graduate from the Arkansas Medical School because she wanted to give others what her family never had.
I've heard my mother scream during difficult child deliveries without any medical help.
Eventually, she became Arkansas's top public health official, but despite her remarkable odyssey, conservatives have tried to block her nomination from the start, raising myriad questions about her personal finances, about whether she misused her position as a bank director. Today, she seemed to satisfy concerns on that.
Any loans I received were well below the maximum limit. They were approved as required and made at the going rate of interest and have all been paid.
But mostly critics were upset about her provocative views on birth control and sex education. For instance,
don't ever go out on a date with anybody you like without a condom in your purse.
So today on the Senate floor, detractors used parliamentary tactics in one last-ditch effort to delay the hearings again and made no bones about why.
I'm concerned about a nominee who has a condom tree on their desk.
But Committee Chairman Kennedy was outraged and threatened to hold nighttime weekend hearings unless the Republicans backed off.
I'm not going to be part of an effort to put this over for another week, another day.
The tactic worked. The hearings resumed this afternoon, and once they did, the steam seemed to go out of the opposition. So senators are now saying tonight that the youngster who never saw a doctor until she went to college is now well on her way to Senate confirmation as America's top doctor. Bob Schieffer, CBS News at the Capitol.
A Chinese commercial airliner crashed into a lake today, killing 59 people. Another 50 survived. The plane was taking off for Beijing from Yinchuan, a popular tourist site along the Great Wall in northwest China.
Now, from around the world, more CBS News. British Prime Minister John Major has survived a vote of confidence in Parliament. It cleared the way for Britain to ratify the Maastricht Treaty on European Union.
In South Asia, the toll keeps rising from weeks of monsoon floods. More than 1,000 people are known dead in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, and up to 7 million have been driven from their homes.
In the Middle East, Arab guerrillas fired rockets into northern Israel, and Israel responded by pouring more tanks and troops into southern Lebanon. Israel blames the new fighting on pro-Iranian militants who want to wreck the Arab-Israeli peace talks.
In this country, the FBI has tracked down another alleged Middle Eastern terrorist charged in a plot to blow up the UN and other targets in New York City. The 44-year-old Egyptian man was arrested at a seaside motel in New Jersey.
Stay with us now for much more CBS Evening News, including paying for paradise. Who should foot the bill for America's final frontier?
My basic love of dogs and my experience breeding dogs makes me enjoy my career as a veterinarian even more.
David Qualls, top breeder of champion Siberian Huskies and doctor of veterinary medicine.
We give our dogs pedigree as a source of meat in their diet. When you open a can of Choice Cuts, there's big meaty chunks and a rich brown gravy. You can really smell the meatiness. Pedigree contains no soy. Pedigree is a very digestible and very nutritious dog food. For my money, Pedigree is the best dog food you can buy.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
Oh, we dreamed about a vacation in Hawaii for 12 years. Then we get there and disaster strikes. We're all stuck in our room with diarrhea. So I bought Imodium AD. I heard it worked better.
Original prescription strength Imodium AD stops diarrhea, often with one dose, instead of dose after dose of the pink stuff.
With just one dose, our diarrhea was gone, and so were we, out having the time of our lives.
Imodium AD, the original prescription for one dose relief.
At Ford Motor Company, we're already building vehicles that meet California's strict emission standards for the late 90s. We're the first U.S. manufacturer to build a car with CFC-free air conditioning. and we'll soon have a fleet of electric vehicles on the road. For us, designing quality cars and trucks means keeping an eye on the big picture.
At Ford, we understand that the quality of the environment is one of our greatest responsibilities.
Ford Motor Company, quality is job one. It's working.
What would you do if you had cancer and believed that only one doctor could help?
Thank you.
And now the state wants to put him out of business. Street Stories with Ed Bradley, tonight.
News tonight about health and medicine. For the first time, federal health officials have approved a new drug for multiple sclerosis. The drug, to be sold as beta-seron, is not a cure, but it does appear to reduce symptoms and lengthen the time between flare-ups in certain MS patients. This new drug is to be available by prescription by early fall.
The state of Alaska is now seeking a multi-billion-dollar cure in court for claims against the United States. It's the latest battle pitting environment against development. John Blackstone reports why sometimes money does grow on trees.
Alaska's wilderness is most often viewed as a national treasure, a place that belongs to all Americans. But today, Alaska's governor presented the rest of the country with a bill for saving all this natural beauty. He wants $29 billion from the federal treasury.
I think the American people are going to see that there has been an injustice here, and that's the story we want to tell.
Alaska filed suit today demanding payment for all the Alaskan lands the federal government has declared closed to development. Today's suit is based on promises made back when Alaska became the 49th state. The federal government pledged the state's budget would be financed mainly from royalties on oil, gas, and minerals. But since then, 100 million acres, wildlife refuges, and wilderness areas.
What's 100 million acres of land worth? $1 an acre, $10 an acre, $100 an acre. What's it worth?
Governor Hickel says declaring all that land off limits to resource development, like drilling for gas and oil, has robbed his people of riches that are rightfully theirs. But some Alaskans say the governor is ignoring all the benefits the state gets from being part of America.
That lawsuit has redefined greed. It is the mother of all cheap stick-ups, and it should be an embarrassment to every Alaskan.
Some believe the real object of the lawsuit is to find a way around federal environmental laws. The suit opens another chapter in the long-running debate over whether to save or to exploit America's last frontier. John Blackstone, CBS News, Los Angeles.
For as long as anyone can remember, the Roadmaster name has graced only automobiles of great strength and security. Buick Roadmaster for 1993 is no exception. Consider, for example, the protection of Roadmaster's full perimeter frame. Its V8 power, anti-lock brakes, and driver airbag. Buick Roadmaster, perhaps the world's best value in a traditional luxury car.
When was the last time you had an irresistible hot fudge sundae? Or a fantabulous banana split? Pick any of our 30 wonderful flavors. And don't forget the nut. So come on, get that 30 wonderful feeling.
Look out, America. The Choiceosaurus Sweepstakes is here. You could win $1 million or one of 7 $50,000 cash prizes. Pick up an entry form at any Quality, Comfort, Clarion, or Sleep Hotel, and you could be a winner, too.
We just won $50,000. Thanks, Comfort Inn.
The $1 million prize is still at large. Will Choiceosaurus bring it to you? Call 1-800-4CHOICE because offers like this happen once every 60 million years.
The American Impressions Collection from Ethan Allen. Just because you don't have a lot of money to throw around doesn't mean you have to live with disposable furniture. Right now, there's a sale going on at your local Ethan Allen.
The National League Titans, the Philadelphia Phillies, the San Francisco Giants, the collision at Candlestick, Saturday on CBS.
Back now from our commercial break, and did you know it's estimated that by the time this day is over, you'll have been exposed to as many as 245 ads in print and on the air. Most, of course, are selling a product. But in tonight's Eye on America, Wyatt Andrews shows you a new trend, ads that sell an image.
Ed Wachtel is a corporate chief executive about to launch a $3 million advertising campaign.
Let's just run through it for a second.
His company, Members Only, by the way, sells coats and jackets.
He is addicted to drugs.
But that's not what they advertise.
Each year, thousands of infants are born addicted to drugs.
This is advertising out of your advertising budget, and your product is never seen?
Never seen.
Why is that?
Because it is a message of a company trying to maintain its image as a good guy company and trying to do some good.
The technique here, the very selling of goodness, most people call cause-related marketing, where instead of selling a product, you push a cause. Look around.
Midas is making it easy for everyone to afford a Century car seat for...
Midas Muffler selling car safety seats at cost. The Body Shop, where perfume and makeup have become politically correct.
I'd rather promote human rights, environmental concern, indigenous rights, whatever, than ever promote a bubble bath.
Even American Express, one of the icons of the elitist 1980s, is pushing food for the homeless.
American Express has provided the funding for Share Our Strength. Their dollars are actually going to connect food with someone who needs it.
Madison Avenue is now embracing cause-related marketing because one of the causes that it helps is the corporate bottom line. They figured out that consumers here in the 90s not only want to buy products that are good, but they want to buy them from companies that do good.
It's people's incredible desire to do the right thing. We feel really burned up by the 80s. We spent money we didn't have. And now that we're poor, you know, it's easy to get religion when you're poor.
It's not as if greed just went away. It's gone, it's assumed a different God.
Author Michael Lewis wrote 2 books on the materialism of the 80s.
The game has changed. It's no longer how much do I have, but how meaningful am I?
The passion is there. You're really affecting change on a daily basis, and it's very powerful stuff.
Meaningful indeed. You'd never guess that this high-powered strategy session is about selling tennis shoes at Lady Foot Locker.
Makes you feel good about yourself.
You have to attach the purpose, some kind of purpose to your job. Something.
Sherry Poe, a rape victim who now owns the Rika Shoe Company, attaches purpose to her tennis shoes by donating part of her profits to battered women.
This is not a ploy.
It was never thought of to be a marketing ploy. It was truly a sincere wish. Consumers that were making us successful.
Is this in some way the competitive edge for the 90s?
I think so.
Some cause marketers actually help fill a social void. This Ben & Jerry's ice cream partner shop is co-owned with a homeless shelter in Harlem and employs recovering alcoholics like Clyde Ashwood.
I was blessed that Ben & Jerry's was there.
You were blessed that Ben & Jerry's was there?
Yeah, Ben & Jerry's was available.
Not all companies are this committed to social action, and it just may be that consumers are buying from the do-gooders to ease guilt about not doing good themselves. So what, says Ben of Ben & Jerry's? We are all reveling in the business equivalent of karma.
If a company is putting out a positive spirit, a caring spirit, it comes back to them. It's just the way the world goes around. It's really kind of a beautiful thing.
Anyone who dismisses that as New Age babble should count the hundreds of millions that cause marketers will rake in this year.
You can never go wrong when you advertise for a cause.
You see, greed isn't dead in the 1990s. It's just wearing a bit more charity on its face. In Harlem, Wyatt Andrews for Eye on America.
And that's part of our world tonight. Coming up on Street Stories, what some people will do to get a cancer treatment the government says they can't have. Join Big Ed Bradley tonight at 9, 8 Central Time on this CBS station.
And Dan and I will see you again right here on Monday night.
CBS News.
This is some of what's being served up on public access cable. The menu often includes large portions of sex, violence, and racism.
I don't like it. And I don't think anybody here does like it. But we're following the law.
Following the law? This stuff can't be legal, can it? Eye on America investigates Monday on the CBS Evening News.
The people of CBS News. Dan Rather,
Connie Chung,
Ed Bradley,
Mike Wallace,
Leslie Stahl,
Morley Safer,
Steve Croft,